All right, I wanted to make a quick study of, I wanted to make a really quick study of StockBee anticipation setups because I find them, to me, I'm kind of laughing because I think it provides more insight into trade management than it does anticipation setups. So a few years ago, StockBee made this video here, and he highlights a few setups. And I'll just really quickly highlight it. Basically, you're looking for something with a catalyst like APLD that sets up really nicely, and in his words, is starting to break out. Um, so I want to show you what the market was like on this day. This is T2108 down in the bottom right hand corner of my screen. And so, using my understanding of StockBee's anticipation methodology, you're going to buy at the close here of the day. Now, knowing what I know about Pradeep, he probably was longing all day. And if we look at his anticipation setups, you're going to find something out that's quite interesting. And I just find it very interesting. So here's one of if we look at his list, he has a watch list here, and he kind of goes through them. Now, the date is 0607. So 0607 in the morning. So keep in mind, Pradeep is saying that on the end of the 6th, so that would be, I think it must be this candle here, these stocks were a buy. Okay. So when I look at this chart, this is what he's saying is a buy. If we look at his examples really quick, GPCR. See, this is a buy. This is an anticipation by his definition, and I believe it's right here. Now, if you look at this, obviously it's a very good setup. The volume is quite low, but what is a key variable for this breakout? It already broke out. So he's talking about how this is like a perfect anticipation. Um, as far as I can tell, it looks like someone may have come across this stock in part because it broke out intraday, and it looks like it may have been entered, and they just put a stop loss down here as opposed to the low of the candle. So eventually, when it went up, you can sell it after 3 to 5 days of it breaking out, and then it fades. But you can imagine, like, if you were trading anticipation the day before, according to my TC2000 and stuff, you would have been longing on this day because breadth would have been going straight up, and so he's So I think, even though Pradeep is saying buy it at the close, I bet he bought it somewhere at 32.5, and that's one example. You're gonna see on every single stock he highlights, there's pretty much an attempt at a breakout the day before he would have described it as an anticipation setup. So we're going to go to this one, anticipation setup. So I would say it looks perfect here. Now, look what happens. It breaks out, very clearly breaks out. Now it rejects off 10, but by StockBee's definition of a breakout, it broke out, like, very obviously. No one would deny it. It's a good trade to take it here. If you watch what happens, though, it doesn't follow through. And now StockBee calls it a good anticipation setup at the end of the day. So I'm not making fun of him or anything, like it's trading. Stuff isn't going to work. But I suspect Pradeep was watching, and I bet he bought it up here, and he has decided not to sell it because the breakout hasn't failed. And I bet he was probably collecting some all day because it was an EP or something. Like, I kind of bet that's what happened. And then here, the breakout didn't follow through. It should have definitely gone the next day on this gap up. Like, there's no point holding it. And so I bet a lot of this is reducing position size. It may be from Pradeep, but um, it should have gone, you know? But I bet StockBee bought it on this day here because of the hourly, 2 hourly, whatever chart you want to call it. Um, but see, he's highlighting it at the end of the day as an anticipation setup. Here's CRVS. Let's have a look at that. We're going to go to the correct day. Okay. So recall, this is the morning of the 7th. So when did it break out? Well, if I look at this chart, it broke out. You know, like price was very clearly, it's not a clean breakout by any stretch, but it did break out, and then it just had a shallow pullback. So again, it's setting up for a breakout, and if it breaks out, you would buy it here. And you can see it definitely has a range expansion, and that follows through there. And you know, presumably Pradeep starts exiting, peeling his position up here and then on the gap up. And so I suspect what actually happened is I bet he bought the open range highs type of thing in the first half hour, and then he's calling it a good. Essentially, it broke out on the hourly and then didn't follow through, and now it's a good anticipation idea. If we look at PSTG, which he also showed us, okay, so we're at the end of June 6th. I keep forgetting the time. Okay, but it broke out here. Look, this is obviously a flag with a very tight range, just like this is, just like this is, just like this is. And I suspect if you were trading and you saw this, you would enter up here like a normal person. That's what you would do. And it follows through. And so it's a very good decision to hold this because it's very clean and it's an anticipation setup. And then if you saw breadth from earlier, right, when Pradeep does his anticipation video, there's huge reason to think that the market's going higher on this day. So breadth goes straight up, and this breakout does this, and it's a good anticipation setup. Now it fails, but it does work in the long run. So we're going to keep looking because lots to be learned. I don't remember. I'll look at ADB, like Adobe, okay, on the same day. And then this is what I think Pradeep is doing, man. Adobe on the 6th. Would anyone have bought it? Nope. But very close, right? I don't think this was a breakout, and I don't think StockBee would have taken it, to be honest, on this day. I don't think anyone really. He better not be calling this a good breakout.
One which is live core. So as you can see, if you see, it's up.
Yeah, he points it out here. I mean, I don't see it. I understand the anticipation idea. I also don't think Pradeep would move the market here, and it fails and then works once the market works. But you see the idea, right? He could have entered it. Not sure. I could see the other ones being stuff he actually took, right? Because you're looking for this type of idea. Okay. And then GPCR. Go to the correct date. Already looked at that one. PSTG, we're going to look at max. Okay. So this is the 6th. Now, look at how clean this chart is, right? It's not an it's an anticipation here off of the pullback, and then I can pretty much guarantee Pradeep is entering it. I could be wrong, but to me the entry is here, not necessarily here. It just didn't stop you out, right? So what he's saying is, if you bought this hourly breakout, there's no reason to sell it, given the context that we saw earlier, right? It just looks like it looks fine. It's setting up again. There's no reason to get out. And so if he took a position, you know, I think you're definitely out by here because it just failed, but that's okay. And then you wait for another setup and it never works. But it's basically a break-even trade. And this is a commonality with most of the stocks Pradeep highlights. And given the context, you can imagine he took a lot of these with the breadth as it was. So we'll go over, I think, one more. I keep forgetting this stock. Maybe VRT is the one we haven't looked at. I don't remember if we looked at it, but it's not a coincidence that Pradeep is highlighting it when it broke out right here, and it broke out here again, or like the day before, and it broke out the day before. So like really, uh, the entry was on this day. Look how compressed it was. But all the while, there's actually not really any huge reason to sell it because it has an EP, pulls back, builds a tight range, breaks out, breaks out. There's three separate breakouts to get in, four breakout, and this is like it's a VRT, so low ADR. I think the price might have maybe it had a share split or something, but oh no, it might not have. Okay, probably just had a very good EP, and so he was accumulating it on that tight range. Now, if we look at markets today, what I would say is like I thought this was similar to his video on the 2 hour. To me, it's the exact same thing. So you have a breakout, and this is the hourly. This is what it looks like, and it doesn't fail immediately. Like it pulls back, but are you wrong? Probably not. This thing has an EP with a lot of good comments from the chief executive. So it ends up being another like I don't think there's a reason to sell it. Basically, if we look at the market context, it's actually the same thing. Market has pulled back for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, and it's not crazy to start expecting a bounce here. So I think it's the exact same context that Pradeep. It's not the exact same. This would be the exact same, but it's kind of close where you expect things to increase at this point. So you start anticipating breakouts so that you don't have to buy them. Now, yeah, here are other examples of like stuff I was watching. But what I noticed when going through Pradeep's things was they'd already broken out on the hourly, and I suspect that's what he was trading. I suspect he watches things with EPs, and then he's like, okay, it's taking out the prior day high. I'll enter it. Or something like this, right? This is an anticipation setup, and the 2 hour looks just like the stuff he highlighted, in my opinion. With you've got the EP, the big move, the tight range, the breakout, the failure to follow through, and so you buy it. Maybe you buy it at the open on this day, but there's no reason to really get out at any point here because it's slowly trending higher, and it has a reason to go up in the long run. So like it's an anticipation of a breakout, a daily breakout on the hourly, which is like not some crazy anticipation. So, given the context of his video and stuff, so I just wanted to make that video, kind of reviewing StockBee's anticipation, and I thought it was pretty good.